Morning, everyone. Apologies for the technical difficulties and the late start. We are here today as the Office of Federal Emergency Relief Programs team to provide you with a little bit of context in regards to what we know at federal programs level and share with you. As always, we'll start with introductions of the team. So my name is Shelley Shassy-Jandro, and I'm the Director of the Office of Federal Emergency Relief Programs.
And Monique is on vacation, but we're expecting her back next week. In the meantime, I've been trying to answer questions related to ARP. I'll be happy when she's back here. I'm Karen Kuziak. I've been coordinating CARES and now Carissa and doing some of the special projects within the ESSER funds, such as school construction. I'll be working on the performance reports coming up, and I expect that's why some of you are here today.
Good morning, I'm Kevin Harrington and I'm working with Gear and Eames.
Good morning, I am Maishasha. I am the fiscal coordinator for the team.
Good morning, I'm Deanna Roberge. I'm one of the management analysts.
Good morning, I'm Terry Beal and I'm the other management analyst.
So today's topics and objectives will include FY22 Performance Report, Carissa Funding and Timeline, Davis-Bacon Prevailing Wages Requirements, Invoice Review Timelines, and Equipment Inventory Reminder. And those are the topics. Today's objective: participants will be able to use ESSER funds effectively and in alignment with federal requirements. Performance reports, fiscal year 2022. The FY22 ESSER performance report is due April 7th, 2023. In the FY22 ESSER performance report, there are specific questions related to each ESSER subgrant funds for CARES, CRISSR, and ARP, in addition to questions related to all subgrant funds. All expenditures and activities will only reflect the July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022 performance period for CARES, ESSER 1, CRISSR, ESSER 2, and ARP ESSER 3, which coincide with the federal grant reimbursement system and the district's financial system reports. There's resources available, and we have the blue parts where you can go and look at what these are, but the blank copy of ESSER 2 FY22 performance report, that was posted March 2nd, and then a Word document for it posted March 8th. ESSER performance report FY22 office hours of March 16th, 23. There's a video on YouTube, slides posted March 17th, and facts posted March 24th, 2023. It was updated March 31st, 2023.
Sorry, I was unmuted. So in this slide, we would like to remind you all that Carissa ESSER funds are available for obligation by September 30th, 2023, which includes the tithing period. Any funds not invoiced by December 30th, 2023 will no longer be accessible. And here are some facts about Carissa funding as of now. So 24 SAUs will still have 80% plus remaining in their Carissa ESSER 2 funding. 68% of all Carissa ESSER 2 funding has been reimbursed. Only 177 days left to obligate the ESSER 2 funding, and approximately 250 days left to fully invoice ESSER 2 in ESSER 2. So yeah, we don't have, I mean, it feels like 250 days a lot, but it will be, you never know, and we will find ourselves in December 30th, 2023. So I would recommend all of us to please try to invoice us as soon as possible for ESSER 2 funding and get it going. So in this slide, we would like to just reiterate our reimbursement timeline. So here is the timeline. So it takes 7 to 10 business days for OFERP team for the initial review of the invoice submission. So business days that exclude any holidays or any weekends. Then our DAFs take 7 to 25 business days to process the invoice for payment, and there will be additional 3 to 10 business days for reimbursement checks to be mailed. So in total, it takes 17 to 45 business days from invoice submission to reimbursement check receipt.
Just an equipment reminder, internal state auditors are looking for clear connections to COVID for supplies and equipment purchased with ESSER funds. For instance, furniture, desk chairs, PE equipment, boilers, roofs, snowplows, vehicles, and outdoor structures. Inventory requirements. It is the responsibility of the SAU to have a procedure identified for tracking and inventorying property purchased. The procedure must meet federal requirements, and you can see the statutes listed here. Also, you may receive a GEMS note when we are reviewing your invoice if you have been requesting reimbursement for equipment. We may send this reminder saying, as required with all equipment purchased with federal funds, please be sure to maintain an inventory system on all equipment purchased with ARP ESSER 3 money, as well as ensure that all pieces of equipment labeled as such. And the statute is there as well. Davis-Bacon prevailing wages. An LEA that uses ESSER or GEAR funds for minor remodeling, renovation, repair, or construction contracts over $2,000 must meet all Davis-Bacon prevailing wage requirements. And you can refer to the next slide as well as use of federal funds. Some HVAC upgrades may constitute minor remodeling. Minor remodeling means minor alterations in a previously completed building. The term also includes the extension of utility lines such as water and electricity from points beyond the confines of the space in which the minor remodeling is undertaken, but within the confines of the previously completed building.
So we're about to wrap up here. We have some resources that are on our page, links to the federal material related to ESSER. If anyone's on here because of the funds for non-public schools, that's the EANS program, and use of funds are available. It's a large document, and also that's the bottom bullet there is the general URL to our webpage, which has a whole list of materials in there. And we have this office hour most first Thursdays of the month through most of the year. We may not hit every summer month, but we plan to have something for you every Thursday, first Thursday of the month at 9 o'clock. There's the registration link. And we try to publish a newsletter every month. And I think we hit at least 11 months out of the year. We have a newsletter, which again, reviews some of the materials that we've talked about during the month, or things that come up that seem to be a common timely issue or question that people have. We try to address in the newsletters. And that's our page that has our contact information. And I think the next slide is for questions. And yeah, sure. Just either unmute or raise your hand. We have Portland, 18, Waterville, Winslow, Hasselboro here. Some of the charter schools. Heath, I see that Mr. Moran, you're unmuted. Do you want to speak?
I just had one quick question. Is there any anticipation as to when the performance reports will be approved?
That's a very good question. So we know we have some that have been submitted and we're going to start digging into them on Monday. And then we're going to work our way through. Shelley had to leave for another meeting, but she's right on top of the date that we have to submit information to the U.S. Department of Ed. I think it's a quick turnaround. So I imagine within a month. And are you eager to hear back from us about what you might need to correct? Is that what prompted that question? I'm curious.
I'm always eager to hear from you, Karen. It really is timing on our behalf because particularly within budget season, we have a lot of staff within our office that is tied up with other obligations. So if I'm eliciting support from those individuals, I'm trying to strategize how to best get the answers that I need in order to suffice what you folks need without causing undue stress.
Got it. Someone else wrote to me this morning saying they're under stress for all of the budget reasons right now, and it would be difficult just to get the performance report in on tomorrow. But you're asking about getting it back. We talked about it among ourselves the other day, and because the figures are pre-populated, and we've done a lot of negotiating and talking and reassuring districts that the pre-populated figures are either correct or we have corrected them. We anticipate because of that, this will be a quicker review on our end compared to last year. So we've done a lot of the calibrating ahead of time, I think is the point. Folks from Portland, do you have a question?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So I just wanted to ask a question about, yesterday I watched the Georgetown University webinar. They were talking about like national trends using COVID funds. And I know, thank you guys, because I know you already met about like invoicing for Portland and kind of, we're trying to catch up as quickly as we can. But I know that they were mentioning that some districts work through states to ask for a waiver for that if they haven't met the deadline for invoice, like for drawing down funds or whatever. Like, have you guys talked about that at all? Or I guess I just really want to know like what we can do to get caught up. I know I'm keeping the pressure on.
Yeah, I was listening carefully, and I forgot if it was Marguerite or the other woman who responded to that question. And we had just given that very same answer to someone else on I think it was an open office hour yesterday morning. We said the exact same thing. The opportunity to ask for a waiver was not offered for CARES until the middle of September. And then we had to fill out, if we were to have asked for it, and Maine did not ask for it for CARES, we would have had to fill out a large document, and the state SEA asks on behalf of the LEAs, or in Maine we say SAUs, in order for an extension. We've had a couple of questions already from the state of Maine, from districts in Maine, about extending Carissa, which makes sense. I think CARES was a smaller amount of money. It was used to address immediate needs. Carissa is a larger chunk. Some of folks have used it for air quality. We know there's a backlog. The commissioner's office knows that there's interest in the state about extending Carissa, but we don't know for sure whether the U.S. Department of Ed is going to offer that, opportunity for a waiver to extend. And if they will offer it, they're not going to tell us till September. So pretty much the message is spend as much as you can, and invoice for it, draw down. If you're really stuck, we'll have to see. And again, it's not automatic. The U.S. Department of Ed has to look at the case that the state makes for extending the funds. But to the extent that a commissioner or a superintendent of education for a state can influence the U.S. Department of Education about making sure they are going to offer this in September, our team will be informing, or has informed, our commissioner's office that we're hearing from districts who are asking this question.
Yeah, okay, well, Portland's asking.
Okay, you're not alone.
Okay, and the second question is, what documentation or evidence do you need to support the Davis-Bacon requirement in the performance report?
That's a Department of Labor. They have jurisdiction over that. I know some auditors have findings, and we actually hear about the auditors. The districts don't necessarily have to tell us, but auditors will raise it with a district and report it to the Department of Education, and usually a corrective action plan has to be put together. So I think the auditors will say what it is, but from what I understand, I'm just talking off the top of my head because I'm not in the Department of Labor. It's the contracts have to have language that reference the prevailing wages. There needs to be a poster on the work site that says this is a federally funded project. We're paying the prevailing rate. It's in the district's interest to keep payroll records for the labor so that they know for sure that the contractors have been paying the prevailing wage. And that's, again, a very layperson's summary of me having looked at the website from the Department of Labor about the Davis-Bacon Act. So, you know, we encourage you to check with your legal counsel about this, check with the Department of Labor, US Department of Labor, because this is a federal requirement, not a state requirement. Internally, we asked our state office and they said, well, yeah, there is Davis-Bacon, but you know, the people who have the answers are the US government.
Thank you.
Anyone want to say any more about that? Or, you know, if there are findings, we're going to defer to what the corrective action plan is that, you know, the district has to follow. Megan, it looks like you raised your hand.
Yep, I just have a quick question, and I tried to navigate to find the answer on your website, but in a previous office hour a couple months ago, you talked about overexpending certain categories and when we would have to reopen the grant as in response to overspending that line. And can someone summarize that for me as I'm looking at submitting my next round of invoices?
Sure, I'm going to ask someone on our financial side to do.
Yeah.
Maisha's the financial
I can
coordinator.
take it. Yeah. So, so the 10% overage rule, I guess you are asking about that. So for ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, it has different rule now. For ESSER 2, you can spend 10% cumulatively over the categories within your invoice at any time, and then it should be within 10%, and if it is over 10%, then your invoice will be reopened and your application will be reopened to adjust that budget if you invoiced under the correct category. So that is ESSER 2. So then ESSER 3, for ESSER 3, it is the 10% overage will be allowed per project basis. So the 10% overage, you can make the 10% overage by the project budget, not the overall allocation. And any of those project total budget cannot be negative at any point of time. So if it happens, your application will be reopened to, you know, allow you to adjust the budget. Does it make sense? So main difference is, one is ESSER 2 is calculated, the 10% overage is calculated over the total allocation. And for ESSER 3, the 10% overage will be calculated based on the project budget, not the total allocation.
And so just to verify, I have, for example, contracted services is overexpended, but my entire project is still under. I don't have to worry about reopening my application to modify specifically contract services if everything else is still in the green and it doesn't extend or by 10%.
Yes, you don't have to worry about that if it is within 10%.
Looking for other questions or other people who have questions.
I guess I have one more question, Karen, and this may, you may not have the answer to this, and absolutely okay. With regard to preparing for the next performance report, and I know that we have to get rid of this one first, right? We have to, you know, and I totally am aware of how busy everyone is, and we need to get these approved and sent to DC and all the reporting. However, I'm just trying to be mindful of the next, when the template may be released for the next performance report. Not that it will allow us to kind of put data into the performance report earlier than needed. It just would be helpful to communicate with staff here in what we should be tracking. And I know that some information has been sent out with regard to what DC is looking for in the next PR. But I'm just trying to, I'm looking for a template, I guess. And I know that may not be available for a few months, but again, this last PR was kind of a little bit more stressful on us because there was a short turnaround between the release of the template and trying to get the figures again in the midst of a budget season. So, but I know this is on your mind. I'm just wondering, you know, is there consideration to potentially looking at that a little earlier for the next
I hear you. And I'm trying to remember what, if there was much of a lag time between when we got the template for what the federal government wanted, US Department of Ed wanted, and we made that available to you all. And I don't think that was a long time. So we, you know, we saw it and we go, oh my goodness, this is going to be different. And we made the federal, I think it was a spreadsheet of, or whatever, their request available. Certainly, you know, I hear what you're saying. Should it be different? Should it be, well, I expect it will be similar next time. I expect we know that they're going to be asking, as you know, for specific information about the FTEs, like at what schools they were at, and specific counts for next time. Yeah, as soon as we know from the US Department of Ed what we're going to be asking for, or what they're asking for, we can try to get it to you folks, at least in their format. And then of course we try to translate it into what we think that SAUs in Maine can feed us that will help us to fill out their template. What I'm hearing is that you'd like to know ahead of time when there's going to be major differences in the way that information gets reported.
Yeah, and I think that there were, if I remember correctly, there's already an announcement that there are some additional categories that are going to be collected for the next performance report that may be different than the one we just filled out. So that is something that I like to get my staff on earlier than later. You know, one of the, I will tell you, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, but one of the things that both with COVID funds and title funds and state reporting, one of the frustrations is there's a lot of overlap.
Yes.
There's a lot of overlap between the data that's being collected by this group and title and state, and there's always this frustration of why don't all these systems talk to one another? Why are we reporting FTEs in the fall when we have to report it yet again for performance reports that could just be pulled from NEO, right? So, but I know maybe the potential responses to that are you have access as a district just as much as we do as a state. I totally understand that, but I'm just looking at, just like you folks, we have limited resources and just trying to streamline everything. So
I understand. There are other questions from folks this morning or comments? We take comments too. Okay, I'm going to stop recording the meeting.